Good evening, everybody. Okay, so in tonight's session, I'm going to cover two topics. I'm going to cover navigation and terminology. So we'll start off with the basics in terms of navigation. All right, to start, I'm going to start off by sharing my browser. And so let me open a browser quickly, and then I'll share it with you in just a moment. Okay, there we go. You should be able to see my browser now. You'll notice that the browser that I've actually opened a private browser. So the reason I open a private browser is primarily because I log into many different instances of CRM on a daily basis. And because of this, you'll find that if you log out of one and log into the other without closing your browser, your system by default will try to log you back into the previous CRM instance that you were logged into. So generally speaking, I'll normally, when I'm working with CRM, I'll generally work in a private browsing session. Okay, to log in, I generally like to teach users to log in using, portal.office.com. So the reason why I like to log in using portal.office.com is primarily because I prefer to teach users the habit of going through their Office environment, which gives them an overview of all their applications. And and I found in the past that some users, if they log in directly with the CRM URL, then you find that the users themselves don't actually get used to all the applications. And in most cases, they don't even know that those applications are there. All right, let me just log in quickly. Okay, that should do it. There we go. All right. So we're going to start off with navigation and to get an overview of the actual navigation of CRM. So once I log into my portal.office.com, I'm presented with all my apps. All right. So my OneDrive, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, SharePoint, Dynamics, Flow, and then the main admin center, which we discussed on day 2's lecture. So let's start off by going straight to Dynamics. So from here, I can navigate by clicking on Dynamics, and you'll notice that it actually opens 2 tabs. So what's nice about that, if I open Word, for example, it'll open Word, and also I can open different applications on multiple screens. Nevertheless, as soon as I click on Dynamics, I'll be taken to these, and these are called apps or applications. Each application has been, out of the box, comes with different functions. So for example, the connected field service is specifically for connected field service, which we'll discuss later. There's a customer service app, which is specifically for customer service type environment. So the configuration, the lookup, the feel, the everything is to do with customer service centric environment. There's a customer service hub, which is pretty much the same thing. And then customer service insights. So you have all these different apps that are custom apps that have been put together with very specific functions in mind. All right. So we call these apps. But there's one that you want to take note of with this one here, which is called Dynamics 365 Custom. This is actually your main application where you will be able to reach this application for Dynamics will contain everything. It will contain customer service, sales, and so forth. The next question is can you build your own apps with only the products or services or customizations that you've done? Yes, of course you can. But when we do customization and configuration in week 4, I'll actually demonstrate that. So in this case, we want to look at Dynamics 365 for custom. So let's click on that to open that application. All right, let's try one more time. If you do get this error, and I found that this does happen sometimes, right? What you can do, there's another way. If I go to the admin center itself, you can, of course, go and log directly into the environment. But there is another way to navigate to this environment. So I want to show you this quickly. All right. So once we log into the admin system, if we go to show all, click on settings, go to services and add-ins, then go to dynamic CRM, right? Click on manage your dynamic settings. This is another way to actually get into your main environment. I'll show you now. Now, as soon as we get in, you'll see your trial instance is over here. On the right-hand side, there's an open button. You can click on the open button, and that'll actually open your CRM environment. Okay, so let's just wait for that to open. And there we go. So now if you want to, and then we can just click over here, see where it says Dynamics 365 Custom, we can click on that, and that'll open your actual main environment. Fantastic. Okay. If you want direct access to it, this is actually the link on top here. So if you copy this link over here, let me actually copy it, and then I'll put it on the screen and zoom in. I'll just check if you're able to actually see this. Yeah, so you can see that in the browser URL. So that's actually your main URL over there. So if I go and I type in this URL, and it asks me for my username and password, it'll actually bring me directly into the app. So each of your apps have got their own URL. Very, very important that you know that, because I remember once when I was going through an exam, it was one of the things that we needed to know is we needed to know a number of things. We needed to know the app, the URL for example, for Customer Service Hub, or as they referred to previously, which was the Interactive Service Hub, was it what it was called before, which has actually got its own dedicated URL. You'll see after this here, in your URL, you actually have, in mine says CRM4. This is actually the indication of the region where your data is hosted. So in this case, 4 is Europe. And you can look up the different regions. Like, for example, if it says CRM6, then you know that your environment is hosted in the United States. Okay. So let's go through the navigation, and let's start off there. All right. So the first one is on the top left-hand corner. You will see this icon over here. If I click on this, what this does, it opens all my Office applications. So I can basically directly access my Office applications straight from here, which will obviously change the screen that I'm currently looking at. All right. Next to, on the actual Dynamics 365 logo, if I click on that, it'll always bring me back to my home page or my landing page. All right. If I click on the down arrow, or what we call a caret, okay, so these arrows here, these arrows in CRM are called carets. Okay. If I click on the down arrow, the caret, I'll get all my applications. So as we saw on the previous screen, we have the custom application, which holds all the information, all my apps. So customer service is here, sales is here, settings is here, the whole lot, right? Dynamics 365 for portals. This is all your, it's basically a user interface, or UI as people call it, but this specifically is an app that's designed with all your portal stuff. So your settings, your configurations, your pages, and so forth. So in other words, if I have to look at this navigation over here, so it says my work, customers, sales, collateral, marketing, and so forth. And then over here we have sales, where we can switch between we can switch over to customer service, and it'll show me customer service. So these apps over here actually are specifically designed with only the components required over here. Okay, so service has all these components. I'm so sorry about that with my dog barking in the background, if you can hear that. Okay, so in other words, the Customer Service Hub, if I went to that, it wouldn't have everything to do with sales, for example, right? So you can build these custom apps. So in other words, you can build an application that is specifically designed for your client's needs, with only the entities, as we call it, that are actually required for your client. On the top of the bar over here, this is actually called breadcrumbs, right? So breadcrumbs is your path. So we currently in the sales app looking at dashboards. If I have to go to accounts, for example, you'll see what it does. It says I'm in the sales app looking at accounts. If I switch to a different app, if I switch to the service app, it'll show service dashboards. And then if I go to accounts, it'll say service and then accounts. So it's your file tree or your path, okay? And then obviously separated by a caret in the middle. All right. Also, these carets, you can actually, these paths, you can actually click on them. So if I click on service, it'll actually take me one step backwards. All right. So let's try that again. If I go to contacts, it shows service and contacts. If I click on service, it will take me back to the previous page I was viewing. All right. Now on the top here is your global search icon. So very important to remember that it's called a global search icon. Then over here is a category search. So if I click on the category search, there comes a drop down. All right. So you might ask yourself, why is there a drop down when there's only one option on the drop down? That is because CRM actually has two search options. The one is a category search, and the other one is relevance. Okay. Now the relevance search is by default is turned off, and you need to actually enable it. It would be a good idea that you actually study the difference between the two. All right. So by using this, if I search with a category search, what it does is I can put in a name, let's say James, for example, click on enter, and you'll actually see what it does. It'll search. It's searched in this case, it's found a record in the contact entity where someone has the name James. All right. But if I search for, let's say, Los Angeles, for example. Okay, it returns nothing because obviously my categorized search is not configured to pick up an actual address field. But let's search for something else. Let's search for Mary, for example, and you'll see I get a contact Mary. Now, it does happen from time to time. Well, in most cases, in fact, actually, you will see that in this case, it's brought up contacts. But the categorized search will search contacts, it'll search accounts, it'll search leads, it'll search opportunities. So in that case, it'll bring up what we call streams of information. So it'll say the contacts in one stream, the opportunities in another stream, the accounts in another stream, anything that matches your actual search criteria. If you enable the relevant search basically takes all your information inside your CRM, including your notes, entity, activities, and so forth, and it actually indexes the whole lot in Azure. So the reason why that's important is because what it means is I'm able to do a much broader search. So I can look for a phrase inside CRM, and it'll find things, even the terms inside documents, right? So documents that are loaded in a PDF. All right. So relevant search works slightly different in how you're searching. Here, I'm just searching for a phrase, and it'll search what we call entities. I'll describe what entities are shortly. But I also have an option to say, I'm looking for the word Mary, and then I can use what we call a pipe, or it's actually called a pipe, but in a programming type language, this is actually an and symbol. Okay. So I can say Mary. I'm searching for Mary, but I'm also looking for a Mary that lives in Los Angeles, for example. Okay, and if I'm using the relevant search, it'll actually match either or of these criteria because I've used an or condition. You can read up a little bit more on how the difference between category search and relevant search. Okay, let's continue. This icon on top here is, if we can click on that, these are task flows. Okay, so you can use out of the box flows, or you can create your own flows. All right, and on top here is your relationship assistant. So the relationship assistant basically looks at obviously your data, things that you've said, and it'll obviously manage the relationship. So when I say manage the relationship, if you have scheduled an appointment and you've got certain tasks that you've lined up, your relationship assistant will obviously go and show that to you. And I'll demonstrate where it actually shows it to you. Okay. But if I click on this icon, all of the reminders and so forth will all be in a stream over here. But as well, when I open records, it'll also show me a stream of different reminders. So the relationship assistant is there to help you to maintain the relationship between yourself and your customer. So if you say, I'm going to call you back, or you schedule a call back, or you schedule an appointment, the relationship assistant will remind you of that. Okay. On the plus over here is what we refer to as a quick create. Okay. So opposed to me going, say, for example, to accounts, and I click on new account, this will bring up the entire account form. Okay. But if I click on the quick create and I say contact, for example, you'll see it's different. It actually brings up a quick create form. Okay. So quick create form is a lot less fields and allows you to quickly create different records on the fly. Okay. So let's go have a look at that again. We have accounts, bookable resource, case, category. So you have a whole bunch of different quick create forms that are here. The question is these forms over here, these quick create forms, can you create them yourself, custom ones? Yes, of course you can. All right. And these are called main forms. All right. So the main form is the form that you'll actually be interacting on inside CRM. Okay. So you get a main form and you get a quick create form, and then you also get a card. Okay. So a card, which I'll demonstrate a little bit later. So what a card in essence looks like, if we go to, let's go to all contacts, let's just see, is generally speaking, when you have a card activated and you have a hierarchical type relationship set up with your records, you will see a little icon over here that looks like a, to actually show you this. I think I'll actually leave this one for customization and configuration. So when you have a hierarchical relationship set up, there's a little icon on the side here, and if you click on it, what it does is it actually shows you a hierarchical view of the relationships of the records, and that shows basically in a card. All right. So a card is not a form that you use to create records, but rather a short description or display in a hierarchical view of things like the name, the contact number, the email address. There's about 5 or 6 fields you can add to a card that you can actually display on the card. All right. So it's like, call it like a quick view almost. All right. Cool. On this little gear, oh, sorry, I skipped one. Over here, we have something called an advanced find. This is a really powerful tool. And this is something, once you get really experienced with CRM, you'll find yourself using this more and more and more often. Opposed to navigating all over CRM, the advanced find allows you to run queries against CRM and query different records. As soon as it opens, I'll give you an example. Okay. All right. So over here where it says look for, this, you actually select the record you're searching for. So let's say accounts. And then I have different options here. So I can say status equals, and then I can query the status of the accounts. I'm saying I'm looking for all accounts that are active, and then I can click on results, and that'll search for all accounts that are active, right? If we take, for example, let's give an example. Okay, so you see the account name here says adventure. All right, so let's go and add that to our query so that we can say account name, right? And then we can say contains adventure. So this is what we call an AND condition, right? So we're saying we're looking for accounts where the status equals active and the account name contains the word adventure, right? So if I click run results, you'll see it'll only give me account names that contain the word adventure, all right? You also have the option for equals, right? So if I click on equals, it'll only give me return an exact match. So if I run this result, we'll see now that you won't get any results because there's no account that matches 100% the name adventure. So that's why I went and used the word contain, because I'm looking for an account name that contains the word adventure. All right. We can go further to say, let's say created. If I say created on, and I can say on or after a certain period, today, yesterday, in the next 7 days, in the last 7 days, I can say, let me take, for example, this year, okay? And then click on run results. Okay, so that shows me the list of accounts. So let's look at the query. List of accounts with the status equals active, account name contains adventure, and created on equals this year. I can also put an or condition. Okay, so an or condition means it's either or. So in this state, in this and means all 3 conditions must be met in my search query. Alternatively, I can use an or condition. So in other words, I click on the row, click on select, click on the arrow, click on select, and click on the arrow and click on select. And then if I click on group or, and I run this result, you'll see it'll actually return all of the accounts. So there's returned all of the actual accounts. Now the reason why I did that was because my very first condition is status equals active. So it's going to give me all of the accounts that equal active, or all the accounts that contain adventure, or all the accounts created this year. But if I go and remove this statement here, just that one. So now I'm saying I'm looking for all the accounts that are created on this year, or all the accounts that contain the name adventure. And you'll see it'll still return quite a number of records. And the reason for that is because in my or statement, I'm looking for accounts created this year or accounts with the word adventure. So you'll see this account does not contain the word adventure, but it was created this year. If I go change the condition or the statement to a AND statement, you'll see now I'm looking for account name contains adventure and created this year. You'll see the number of results returned is much less. Okay, so I hope that gives you a bit of an insight to what an advanced find does. You can, of course, get very creative and do very advanced find queries, but we'll cover that a little bit later. For this stage is I want to be able to give you the ground foundation to give you the basic understanding of how and what you can use CRM for. Basically, I can go and from here and I can click and search between many different entities, every single entity that actually exists inside CRM, including things like emails, notes, and so forth. Okay, let's exit out of there. All right. Over here, we've got the settings. So if you click on that, you got your personal settings. So if we click on personal settings, I can do things like what are my default landing screens. So for example, default pane, I want it to be, let's say, sales, and I want it to land up on my sales. Let's say accounts. So it's going to open the sales app and show me the accounts entity. All right, so let's click on OK and let's test that out. Okay, my CRM will refresh. Okay, and then I'm going to go to click on my dynamics, and you can see it says sales and accounts. Okay, so now this will be my default landing page every time I log into CRM. So I find that I get this request quite a lot, that people don't want to get, they want to navigate to their workplace. All right, so if I go here again, I go personal settings, and I can change this to, for example, service, but I want to show cases. And click on OK. My CRM will refresh, and you'll see I'll land up on that page. And then go click on Dynamics 365 here, and then you'll see service and cases. So now every time I log in straight into my cases screen. So this is quite nice. So generally what I do is when I configure a new environment for a customer, when I know that the user is working mainly on support cases, I'll bring them straight to the screen so they can go straight to their support cases. Okay. There's a couple other settings that you can look at. Some of them you pretty much got to read through. Another common one is this one here, is the number of records shown per page. I like to always set this to 250. Otherwise, you can choose the number of records. So in other words, if by changing this to 250 and I click on OK, then what it means is the number of records per page that are shown here. So although there's only 3 over here, if I go to accounts, for example, where I know there's more than 100 accounts, let's go to active accounts. We know there's 97 active accounts. You can see that. So it says 1 of 97. Because I've configured my view to show 250 per page, let's go and see what happens if I go change that to actually down to, let's say, 25. Okay. If I change it to 25, when my CRM refreshes, it'll only show 25 records per page. All right, so you can see 1 to 25 for page 1 of 97. So now to get to the second page, I actually need to click on the right-hand side here, go to page 2 and page 3. I can also use the alphabet to actually filter. So if I click on A, what it'll do, it'll show me account names that begin with A. Or account names, if I click on D, account names that begin with D. And if I click on H, it'll show me account names that begin with H. Okay, so that's quite a quick way to actually go and filter, right? And if I click on all, it'll obviously undo my filter. Okay, let's go back to your personal settings. Now, very important to note that it says personal settings. So the settings that you adjust here won't affect other users. Okay. Right, so select the default mode for your advanced find. So you can say advanced find mode simple or detailed. You can set your base currency over here, or your default currency that you're going to be working with over there. Change the number of records. Your synchronization. So this one here, I would rather, if you're not a specialist on the system, this is not exactly a setting that you want to play with unless you actually know what you're doing in this, right? So synchronization is a lot to do with how you synchronize with your Outlook Exchange in terms of how emails come in and so forth. All right. Right. Your activities. Activities are things like appointments, tasks, and so forth. So these are your activity settings. So your default view is by day. So you can have it by week or by month. So in other words, what it means is if I have an activity, let's say, for example, like appointments, when I go to my appointments, what do I want to see? I want to see by default my appointments for the day, or do I want to see by appointments for week? And then your work hours, another one that's really important, is to set up your actual work hours. All right. So when you're looking at scheduling and so forth, this is where this will eventually come into play. Formats. This is where you can see, obviously, my current format is set to South Africa. I want to actually go and change this because it's set to an African language in South Africa. So I want to go change this to South Africa, but I want to make it English. Otherwise, when I open my calendar, it's going to come in a language that is a little challenging to understand. Okay, so here's English here in this section. And let's go and look for English South Africa. Where is my English South Africa? Oh, there we go, English South Africa. Okay, so when I select my currency, my current format, you'll notice that the number, it gives me the number format, currency format, time, how it displays the date, and the long date format. Okay, cool. Right, email templates. So another one that's really cool that a lot of users use. You click on new to create a new email template. So this is where you can go and set up email templates with standard messages. You can either create a global template, which means it's visible to everyone, or it's accessible, sorry, to from any record, or specific to a lead or specific to an opportunity. So sometimes people use this specifically when they want to start off an email message or a hello, how are you doing? Kind regards, thank you for contacting us, and so forth. So this is where you can create some starter templates for yourself. All right. Under the email signatures, so I can go here and create an email signature for myself, so that whenever I send out emails, obviously my contact information and so forth is already embedded in the email. So what this means is exactly what it says. I mean, yes, you can, I'm getting tongue-tied with my own words here, but basically, if I want to create an email signature when I'm sending emails from CRM, so although I can send emails from my Outlook, I can also email customers directly from CRM, and then go and configure my email signature over here. All right, let's continue. And then under email, so here's where I can go to do some email configuration. This obviously affects only your settings, because we are working here specifically with your personal options. All right. Privacy is your privacy settings, and languages. You can go and obviously set your languages over here. All right. Fantastic. Okay. Cool. All right. So now, what are these items on the side here? They've actually got a name, and these items are called entities. All right. So that's the account entity, the contact entity, lead entity, opportunities entity, competitors entity. So these are called entities. Okay. So let's recap. Right. Over here, these are called apps, or model-driven apps, or modular apps. You'll hear both terms, model-driven apps or modular apps. So model-driven apps is the new format. So when I go and create a model-driven app, I'm creating an app that basically looks like this. Okay. You also get a Canvas app. A Canvas app is what we use in Power Apps to develop mobile applications that we deploy to customers who want mobile applications for specific functions. Okay. This is the breadcrumbs. These are entities. Okay. These are actual entities itself. Right. So if I go into, for example, a contact entity, right? In the contact entity, I have this over here. This is called a view, or a view selector. So if I click on the view selector, these are pre-configured filters. All right. So if I go to, for example, active contacts, I've selected the active contact view, which will show me automatically all of the contacts in CRM that are active. Okay. Now, we also refer to, although this is a contact, it is called a record. Okay. So if someone says open the contact record, it means open the actual contact. Okay. Right. So that's pretty simple. Inside every CRM form, so what you're looking at here is a CRM form. These are called sections. So this is the contact information section. This is the timeline section. This is the relationship assistant section. All right. And inside sections, or on forms, you have sections as well as tabs. So these are tabs over here. So that's the details tab. It gives me some information. The scheduling tab, it gives me different information. And the related tab actually connects me to related records. Now, what are related records? Okay, so I'm actually going to give you a bit of an example of what a related record actually is. So let me just open my whiteboard and I'll share that with you right now. If you don't mind, hold 1 second. I just want to share a whiteboard with you. Then I'll give you an example of what related records are. Okay. Okay, so you should be able to see a whiteboard now. All right. So if I have an account, let's just say this is an account. All right. I'm going to give it an A. And then below the account, I have connected contacts. Okay. The contact itself, this is called a related record. All right. where from the related record, this is called the parent record. Another term you'll hear often is that they talk about the child record. So if they're talking about a child record, they're talking about the child to the parent or the parent to the child. All right. So each of these are called records. Okay. So we have an account record. We have a contact record. If someone says open the contact record, that's what they're referring to, is go to the actual contact and open it. If they say open the account entity, what they're referring to is go navigate to the account entity. Okay. So let me demonstrate that one more time. Let me share my other screen. All right. So if they say navigate to the account entity, we click on accounts. If they say open the account view or switch to the all active accounts in the view, we go here and we go to active accounts. If they say open an account record, we click on the account record, which opens it. Okay. So you'll find some of the terminology is very similar to some of you guys who have some experience with programming. If I could relate, I would say we're looking at this as a table. So in programming, we click on accounts. This is the accounts table, and these are the records within the table. Okay. Right. Now, what is also quite nice is if I go and I switch this to, let's say, active accounts. Okay. If now that I'm viewing the active accounts records, if I go click on the advanced find, if you remember where that is on the top right, you click on the advanced find. This will actually open the settings where it says here status equals active. All right. So I can actually go and modify this. So if I click on details and I click on, let's say account name contains adventure. All right. I run the results and just to test, okay, that's the one we got. And let's say in this context, what we want is we want to create a personal view of all the AdventureWorks accounts. So this is what I've basically done here. However, you'll notice that the save button is grayed out. And the reason for that is because I cannot modify a system view. So the views that we're viewing now are called system views. But it does give me a save as option, which means I can save this as a personal view. All right, so just remember there's a difference. You get two views, a personal view and a system view. Okay, so I'm going to give it a new name. I'm going to call this Adventure Works, and then put a hyphen and say active accounts. Okay, and I'll give it a description. This is the active accounts accounts for Adventure Works. Okay. And then save it. And once I save it, I can close it on the top right here. And then if I click on this, on the view selector, I actually won't be able to see it. Oh, wait, wow, it's already there actually. Normally in the older version of CRM, I'd actually have to refresh CRM to be able to see it. Okay. Right, so there you see system views. So these are views that are out of the box. You can't modify these, or you can actually modify them, but you need to go in, we'll demonstrate that in the customization and configuration. And then my views, these are personal views. So these views on, the system views over here are all views that are viewed company-wide, and personal views are only viewed by myself unless I share them with a specific user. Very, very, very important. That is definitely going to come up in your study material. So the difference between a system view and a personal view, a system view can be viewed by any user who has access to CRM, whereas a personal view, as they call over here, my views, these can only be viewed by yourself unless you share them with somebody. So if I click on this now my filter is already saved with how I want it. So I can create a lot of different views for personal ways that I want to be able to see data. Okay. Very nice one is this little button over here that says show chart. Okay, so I'm going to switch back to all active accounts. There we go, all active accounts. Then if I click on show chart, it'll actually bring up a chart on the left-hand side. And over here, you'll see the chart also has a view selector called a chart type. Okay, so this one is the accounts by industry. But if I select it, I can say accounts by owner. Then it tells me the owners and how many accounts. If this graph is a little bit too small, there is a pop-out, right? So if I can click on the pop-out, the graph will pop out and it'll actually show me the records itself. Okay, so it'll give me a count. Okay, so you'll see for the records by owner where the owner of the record is system, you'll see 72. And then where the owner of the records is this one, there is 6 records. All right. From inside this chart, I can also go accounts by territories. And I can switch between accounts by month. It shows me for January and June how many accounts were created by month. Okay, I can close that. One of my favorite features is if I click on these bars, they actually filter the data. So by clicking on a chart, the data on the right-hand side filters as well. So you can see there's a count of 24. If I look at the bottom here, it actually shows me 24 records. Okay, so that filters my data the way I want it. Okay, right. So what will we discover? This is a view selector. This is a chart selector. These are records or account records. And by selecting an account record, I'm actually able to open that account record. One thing you'll notice, and I get asked this especially by new consultants, is they always ask me, why is it blue and some of the stuff is black? Okay, very nice question. So if I'm looking at accounts and I click on the account name, it actually opens the account. But while I'm inside the account, you'll see the primary contact. So this is the main contact person. Their name is also blue. So if I click on their name, it actually opens the contact record. So I don't have to go and search directly for the contact. I can actually open the contact from within the account. From within this account, I can see they work for the company of AdventureWorks, and it's also blue. So if I click on it, it'll take me to the company account. Let's see what else we can find that is also blue. Okay, let's scroll down. Let's go to the project price lists. There's no records there, any details. Over here, there we go. There's the currency. If I click on currency, it'll actually take me to currency setting. That shows me the currency setting and the symbol and so forth. Okay, let's click back on the browser to return. And let's go to field service, for example. Okay, scheduling and related. And these are all obviously related records. So there's actually quite a huge nest of records that you can actually connect, like support cases, customers' orders and quotes and invoices, projects that are associated to an account or invoices associated to an account. There's so many different things you can actually go and connect to an account, or what we refer to as related records. Okay, fantastic. Okay, then I'm going to show you the loading of an organization chart. You can go and select that. So we're going to actually go and see how that renders. Okay, so here's the company name, and it shows me the org chart for this actual company. That's quite nice. So I get a physical picture of the relationship diagram of how this company is actually structured and the relationship between the parent account, so this is the parent, or the parent record, and child record. So that's quite nice. If I click on it, it'll actually go and take me into that record. Okay, let's continue. Let's go to dashboards. Okay, fantastic. Now in these dashboards, well, this is a dashboard. So you pretty much see that a dashboard is actually a collection of two things, right? It is a collection of a view as well as a chart. And then you take that view and chart combination and you can create what we call dashboards, right? So dashboards are a pane like this that can contain up to 6 tiles. All right. So here you can see there's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then obviously if your requirement is more than 6, then you'd need to obviously create a separate chart or a separate dashboard. There's the marketing social dashboard. So a chart or a dashboard can contain different types of formats. So these are streams. You can have charts that actually contain data or streams, as I say. You can also have physical charts like, let's go over here, for example. This is a nice one. These are streams. These are like proposed articles, draft articles, expired articles, and so forth. Okay. If we go to the customer service, let's go to the customer service manager dashboard. So this gives me an overview of what's happening from a customer service perspective. All right. And again, I can actually pop out the active cases. It'll come out in the chart. And then it shows me a list of all the active cases and who's currently working on those cases. On the right-hand side, you'll see there's a tiny little thing with three dots. This is called an ellipse. If you click on the ellipse and then click on View Records, it'll actually take you to the same chart with its records. And then if I, by clicking on the actual chart itself, or the bar on the chart itself, I can actually click on it and it'll filter the records on the right-hand side. Okay, so this can come in quite handy. So what you need to understand is to learn all the different tools that you have, and then when a customer presents you with something that they want to do, take all the tools and stuff that you know, and then this is basically how you're going to land up modeling their solution. All right. On the top here, this is called a command bar. So from here, I can hide the chart. So click on hide chart, removes the chart. I can create a new support case, delete a record. Okay, I can click on refresh if I want to update the data. I can run reports, email a link, run a flow. So this one we'll talk about a bit later, but this is where you access flows and on-demand workflows. All right. So a flow is where I've got a connector that basically performs actions for me. I'm going to keep it simple for now. So let's say, for example, when something happens, or let's say when somebody creates a new support case and I want to send the customer an email, I can use a flow to basically send that email. So the system will basically wait. As soon as the case is created, it'll automatically send off an email. But flows are a lot more advanced because flows can actually connect to other applications in your Microsoft environment, in your Office environment, things like Excel, Word, PowerPoint, and so forth. You can actually create flows or connectors, as we say, to perform different functions. All right. An on-demand workflow is centered inside CRM. So on-demand or background workflows are also system jobs that perform functions, but except these are functions that only run within inside your CRM environment. We use workflows for many, many different things, right? So we use workflows that sometimes go and, how can I say, we can say when a new, what example can I use? To send an email, right? So when a support case is created, send an email. When certain events happen, I can tell it to do things. I can tell it to do calculations. I can tell it to do quite a number of functions that you can actually do. But I'm going to cover that in week 4 in customization and configuration. We'll build a whole bunch of workflows that can create records, that can do a whole bunch of things. One of the functions I use it a lot for is obviously creating child records, sending emails, for example, updating records. I can use workflows to go and update records, and so forth. Okay. All right. Then on the side here, this is your search bar. So remember, the global search over here searches the whole of CRM. This search icon here, or quick search as we call it, only searches the records in this current list. Okay. So if I put in James here, in active cases, it comes with no data because there's obviously nothing that contains James. All right. Also with the quick search, can I change the way it responds? So for example, what fields is it actually using to search? Yes, you can. So you can actually go and add additional requirements onto it. So for example, I think if I'm not mistaken, but the quick search is by default, it'll search the case title, case number, and I think the actual customer itself. All right. So let's actually test that out if it's searching the customer. So if I say graphic, for example, and then I click on search, no data returned. But if I go to the actual case topic, let's say parent case over here, for example, let's go and search parent case. All right, and there it brings up parent case. So we know for sure this one is searching the case title. All right, cool. Okay, so that pretty much covers the actual navigation, and in that I mentioned quite a number of different terminology that we use. Please make sure to watch this recording when I post it a number of times to make sure that you understand it, because when it comes to your examinations and so forth, they're going to use this terminology a lot, and if you don't understand it, it's going to be quite difficult for you to actually get through your exams. So make sure to learn all of that. So what's the difference between an app, module app, driven app, model driven app, sorry, a Canvas app? What are apps? What is an admin center? What is a command bar? What are breadcrumbs? What is an ellipse? These are terms that you need to become familiar with. All right, thank you everyone for joining tonight. If you do have any questions, please feel free to send me an email, pop me a comment on LinkedIn, and I'll definitely am here to assist you. Thank you very much.